Hey basketball fans, are you ready to win real money? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 dunks on its rivals, including prize picks. Just select two or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like points, rebounds, three-pointers, and more. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6 and cash in your basketball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
I think now we should get into some of our playoff predictions and taking a look at the NHL as a whole. I feel like a lot of you will be interested to see our takes. We're going to make one bracket together and we'll give our thoughts on each series.
I don't think when we went over this, I don't think we agreed on a single one of them. No, I'm kidding. But we were pretty.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about them.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the ones that we were a bit like unsure about. But we'll start it off. For those of you watching on YouTube, you see it up on the screen. NHL Stanley Cup playoff bracket brought to you by the NHL. And for those of you listening, well, we'll kind of run through the matchups. You'll hear what we're talking about. But we'll start at the very top. The first matchup in the West. The Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. Liam, you wanna give us the initial thoughts, quick thoughts.
Yeah, I mean you can't jump over the fact that St. Louis is the hottest team in the NHL right now, going on that 15-game winning streak that brought them into the playoffs, and is historically known for making great pushes into the offs. But Winnipeg, super successful season this year. Kyle Connor, 98 points. Which is pretty insane to think about. And obviously, Connor Hellebuck, Hart type season, could be the first goalie since Carey Price to win the Hart. So I think this is going to be a really interesting matchup, and I think it's going to be the best wild card matchup we've seen in a while. In terms of like a first seed versus a wild card. But I still like the Jets. I think they're very deep. Losing Gabe Vilardi sucks, but I think the Jets will get it done.
Second matchup, Dallas versus Colorado. This is a doozy. However, Jason Robertson, Wednesday night, exits the game, leaves the arena in a walking boot. Miro Heiskanen, unavailable for the series, for the first round of the playoffs. That's definitely something to monitor if you were ever going to take Dallas. I've always been a pretty big Dallas advocate. I always thought that their team on paper has just been so properly built by Jim Nill. However, I just don't see a world where they can get it done with injuries to both Robertson and Heiskanen. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and one thing that's really weird is Dallas has the highest odds to win the Cup, but they're underdogs against Colorado in this series. So I don't understand that at all. Yeah.
So maybe the logic is that if they get through Colorado, well, like it still doesn't make sense. But if they get through Colorado, maybe their path is. But then they'd have to play Winnipeg. So that's really
I don't know. Maybe
sense.
the Cup odds weren't updated after the Robertson injury and just the series odds were. But either way, I think I'm going to agree with you here. I see Colorado, Gabe Landeskog coming back into the lineup. Not going to be that same offensive guy, but the leadership and the experience he brings to the table is huge. And then losing out on Robertson potentially seen in a walking boot and Heiskanen being confirmed not to be in this series. Dallas is still insanely deep. Getting Tyler Seguin back for this playoff run is going to be a necessity considering Robertson's going to be out. But they made a lot of moves at the deadline, picking up Rantanen, who hasn't been exactly the best, and Granlund's a great piece to add. But overall, I like Colorado in this series.
we'll move on to the Vegas Minnesota series. So Minnesota confirms their spot in the playoffs just recently. They get Kaprizov back. They get Joel Eriksson Ek back, who's been a huge driver towards their playoff berth. I mean, it's funny to even think that, you know, they forced OT. They put Marc-Andre Fleury in there for his last regular season I don't even know what to call it, appearance for his career, because presumably he probably won't touch the ice in the playoffs unless something happens. Kind of funny he's going against his former team there, where he actually won a Vezina. But Liam, I'll let you kind of give your little description here, but I think Minnesota is an okay team, but I think Vegas once again knows how to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is very deep, and they always have those guys who show up at the right time. Dorofeyev, 35 goals. Just their decor construction overall is just absolutely insane. They're so good defensively. And they obviously have Aiden Hill, who can get hot at the right time. I really do like Minnesota's team. I really do. Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, Zuccarello are big-time guys. They show up. And Zeev Buyum today, practicing on power play 1. So that could be an interesting move to revive their power play in a way. Not to mention Matt Boldy. Going to be great for them.
And
I don't think
Rossi.
Yeah, Marco Rossi too. Look, they're a deep team, and Minnesota is that type of team that just can't get past round 1. They're like the less covered Leafs in a way. You know, you just don't hear about them, but they don't pass round 1.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
One thing I just want to throw out there is this is the last season that they're 15 mil dead in cap. So next year, I'm sure they're going to go out and make some big signing, because that Parise and Ryan Suter 15-year deals are finally coming off the caps, or their total cap, but the books. But
yeah,
regardless, I think Vegas takes this matchup.
Yeah, I think Vegas, from a schematic standpoint, from a strategy standpoint, has most teams dead to rights. I think, again, if you want to talk about a suffocating team, well, that's the Vegas Golden Knights. Their decor, they've proven it when they won the cup, that they don't need the big name defensemen to win a cup. They just need rangy D-men that are willing to sacrifice their body to eat pucks, literally eat pucks. And look, I mean, they went out and got Hannafin last year. Unbelievable addition, because you're talking about a guy that can log minutes, who could skate well and has a smart hockey mind. Theodore's always been good. And then you go down, and then you still have Pietrangelo with a ton of playoff experience. And then the rest of the guys are just absolute units who most casual fans will be like, I've never heard this name in my life. However, like I said, they eat pucks, they eat minutes, and they're rangy. And try getting a shot off. Try taking a long release, because the truth is their stick will be in the lane. So I think that's going to be definitely troubling for the Minnesota Wild. And that's why we have Vegas there. But we'll move on. Last matchup in the West, you have the notorious, the famous matchup, the one that never, ever, 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 ever changes. The Edmonton Oilers versus the LA Kings. And I'm going to say something, Liam. I've had enough of the seeding. I've had enough of the way the playoffs are designed. I think that it was good for the time that it lasted, but if we have to see Kings Oilers one more time, I might unsubscribe from the NHL, because look, I think that this year we're seeing something a little different. I think the Kings are a bit stronger. I think the Oilers are a little bit banged up. So maybe the Kings could come out and do something. But I'm still kind of bored. Like, are you not?
Yeah, it's enough with this 4 years in a row, and they need to change something. And a lot of people say, well, you know, the seeding, if you're doing it 1 to 8, it's not going to change that much, but it actually does. Maybe it doesn't change that much in the first round, but it's the second round too. Like, we're seeing the same matchups over and over and over again. It's just so frustrating. I don't know why they ever change it. I know there was travel purposes, but I don't really understand it, because it brings down the value of the game overall. But getting into this matchup, I think this is the Kings' it's their greatest chance to beat the Oilers. But if we're talking about two players that can just absolutely take over a series and be the difference as to why their team would win, that's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And we've seen it in the past 2 years ago, I think, or 2 or 3 years ago. They led the playoffs in points after getting eliminated in the second round. So those are the types of players that will take over a series. Everybody knows this. So It's nothing surprising. I'm going to take the Oilers here again, 4th year in a row. I don't see a world where Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid lose in a first round against a team they've had a lot of success against so many years in a row.
I think we came to the consensus that we were going to take the Oilers, but if I had to pick personally, I would probably go with the Kings. I think it was just more because I was more comfortable leaning the Oilers way than committing to the Kings in this sense because of, I think, again, we can't count out the fact that the Oilers went to the Cup final last year and they really are driven by two guys, but they do have some depth, right? Like, I mean, they did go out, get Jeff Skinner. They went out and got Victor Arvidsson. But again, there's so many concerns throughout that lineup, whether it be because of depth or whether it be because of their goaltending or whether it be quite frankly, because their defensemen cannot defend. Other than Matthias Ekholm, who will not be playing in the first round of the playoffs. So, look, I mean, those are factors that we have to take into account. I think that the Kings have probably one of the most complete lineups, like you said, that they've had in a while. They also are getting a bit more goaltending this year. Last year, it just was not it. It just was not it. And this year, they have Darcy Kemper in nets, who's had one of his better seasons to date. And if he could get hot, we always talk about a hot goalie. But look, Kempe, Kopitar, Fiala, Byfield, Warren Fogle with the quiet 24 goals. Phil Deneau, one of the best defensive centers in the league. They're getting some production from Andrei Kuzmenko, who quietly has 17 points in 21 games with the Kings. So again, I'm kind of pointing everything towards picking the Kings. It would be more as I don't know if underdog story is the right word, but more of an unpopular pick. But I think we just go Oilers strictly because they're that Canadian team, and the more Canadian teams that could stay in, the better. So
Agreed.
we'll take the Oilers for this matchup, and then we have to go games. So we'll run through it quickly. But
Like Winnipeg in 6.
Winnipeg in 6. You think St. Louis gets 2 there?
I do. I think they could
Okay.
win at home, and they've been hot. I think they steal 2. I don't think Hellebuck's the best goalie in the biggest scenarios. I mean, look back at
He's
Four
not.
Nations, but
Even before that, last year.
Yeah, you're right. But I think Winnipeg will get it done in 6.
Okay, so we'll take them at 6. Dallas, Colorado. I feel like that can be a barn burner. I think I would still go Colorado in 6. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'd go Colorado in 6, winning on home ice. So give me that.
And then Vegas, Minnesota. I mean, I would want to even give a game to Minnesota because I think that they are capable of stealing 1, but I wouldn't go more than 1 personally.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I was just going to say the same thing, 5.
And then you got Edmonton, LA, which is notorious for going to 7.
I like 7.
You like 7? We'll keep it 7. We'll keep the theme.
It was 7
there.
last year as well.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
the Oilers won on the Kings ice.
The Oilers won on the Kings ice. Yeah, that was a crazy game when McDavid scored that. You just saw the passion in McDavid's eyes there. That was showing a bit of personality there. We'll move over to the east side of the bracket, Liam, which is probably all except one of the matchups are exciting, in my opinion.
Cinema.
So
pure cinema. Perfect matchups. Yeah. Honestly, perfect matchups.
Perfect matchups. So we'll start with the Battle of Ontario. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs going up against the Ottawa Senators. The Senators make it in. Again, what's the story here? Well, the story is the fact that they got some goaltending this year. Linus Ullmark, traded from Boston to the Sens, has an unbelievable season. He missed a bit of time. However, if it wasn't for Linus Ullmark, don't think this team would be in the playoffs. They go out at the deadline, acquire their 2C. Decor is pretty solid. Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson, Artem Zub, so on and so forth. But they're going up against a Leafs team that I feel like hasn't got a lot of media coverage this year. And I feel like the less media coverage that a team gets, the more they feel like they need to prove. And
well, this is a completely different season for the Leafs. They're not the same team as they were the last 4 years. I think this is the most successful season they've had, and all the media is talking about how this is the best finish they've had in terms of a regular season in God knows how long. But I mean, this is the best goaltending they've had. Is it going to be Stolarz? Is it going to be Wool? I'm assuming it's going to be Stolarz. He's just been really reliable. I think 8 wins in a row. And then obviously the coaching change in the offseason. Berube has seemed to coach this team very well. They're getting depth scoring, and I think, although they have just this trend of losing in the first round 8 times in the last 9 years, I think they get it done, and we both agree.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I also just don't think, sorry, Sens fans, but I just don't think that having now experienced Sens hockey twice against Montreal this season in Ottawa, I mean, I think that the Leafs fans are going to absolutely take over the CTC.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's going to be a sea of blue because it's been a sea of Montreal Canadiens red the both times that I've gone to the games. And I think that if that's the case, again, is your home ice advantage really your home ice advantage? And I don't think it is. It's going to be for the Sens, which is a huge game changer, especially in this sport. So we'll take the Leafs there. Moving on to go
quickly,
ahead.
I think Brady Tkachuk is going to be a lot of fun to watch. He can be a difference maker like his brother was.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think he's actually back and playing tonight in their final game, so that's exciting for their squad. I think that he's definitely going to be rowdy. Like that's Brady Tkachuk for you. But we'll move on to the next matchup. Another, like Liam called it, a cinema, absolute film. You got the Tampa Bay Lightning playing against the Florida Panthers. The battle of the state of Florida. So, rematch. You got Tampa that finished ahead of Florida, but Florida is the defending Stanley Cup champions. Matthew Tkachuk will play in this series. Everyone is healthy. Everyone is available. Tampa made a few acquisitions at the deadline. Bjorkstrand, Yanni Gord. They're looking solid. Very, very solid. And honestly, underratedly solid. Because if you would have asked me without looking, I'm covering my eyes for those of you watching on YouTube, I would have probably said that the Panthers finished ahead of the Lightning because that race for the Atlantic Division there was really, really close near the end between Toronto, Tampa, and Florida. But it is the Tampa Bay Lightning that reigns supreme in this aspect, and I do think, Liam, that Tampa Bay wins this matchup. Very close, and I want to give more credit to the Panthers because the Panthers are the Panthers, but Tampa to me seems a bit scary this year.
Yeah, I think Bjorkstrand is going to be out. He was announced to be week to week about a few days ago, so we'll see if he returns. I think he's a big piece. He was playing power play 1 for a little bit. So last year, just to throw it out there, Florida beat them in 5. So this is going to be a revenge tour for Tampa, and I don't think you can count out the Florida Panthers because, like we said, they're as deep as a team as any team could be. They've been missing guys for the last month or so, whether that's Matty Tkachuk, Barkov coming in and out. Just not the consistency that they've typically played at. Ekblad will be back, I believe. So he was suspended 20 games. I think he'll be back for round 1. But this is going to be a great matchup. These two teams, this could be a conference finals matchup for sure. And I think, again, that speaks to the issue with the seeding, but I think we both agree Tampa does take this. Vasilevsky has been on one this year. Kucherov winning the Art Ross. This is tough. It's very tough to predict.
It really is. But I think we can both agree on Tampa there. So we'll move on to the next matchup. I don't know if this is an interesting one or not, but you got the Montreal Canadiens facing off against the Washington Capitals in Washington. We talked about we went through the matchup. We discussed it. I mean, Liam, honestly, again, like I don't. Is it bias aside? I don't know. Like I want to say bias.
Them. Come on, like we talked about it, and I've seen bigger, former NHL players talking about it. I mean, it was Ryan Whitney, but whatever. He said like Montreal brings something to the table that is what playoff hockey is. It's uncertainty and it's chemistry and it's the team in general taking on a first-seeded team that, they technically should have no business beating. But Washington has been cold. Montreal has been hot. I really don't think it's crazy to say that Montreal could take this series. And, I mean, are we even a Habs podcast if we don't take them?
I just think, we gave credit to St. Louis for going up against Winnipeg. And the truth is that would it completely surprise me if St. Louis somehow beat Winnipeg? No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't, because again, we're talking about a team that got hot at the right time, and Winnipeg has been slowly coasting. Hellebuck hasn't played as well as he did at the beginning of the season. They've had a great season overall, but I'm comparing Winnipeg's situation to Washington's situation. And in both those situations, I think that the teams that they're playing are teams that got hot at the right time. They didn't always have that second wildcard spot confirmed in both the East and the West. And I think that the Canadiens have something to prove in that aspect. And that's why I think that if we're going to pick an upset, not just for the sake of doing it, but because we believe in it, I see a world where the Canadiens beat the Caps.
There's always upsets in the playoffs. Let's go back to the Boston Bruins winning the President's Trophy, setting the NHL record, losing to the 8th seed Florida Panthers. There are upsets every single year, and there will continue to be upsets every single year because it is the NHL playoffs. Last year, the Edmonton Oilers were the underdog in the second series against the Canucks. They end up winning. The Colorado Avalanche were an underdog to the Winnipeg Jets. Colorado wins. Like, this is nothing new, and we're going to hear it from non-Canadiens fans because, that's just how it is, and every non-Canadian fan thinks all Habs fans are super biased and are delusional, but the point is there's upsets every single year. You can't go against the fact that Montreal has what it takes to perform an upset. So I truly think the Canadiens can get it done.
And then, so we're going to have Montreal written in that spot, so to advance against the Caps. Then we go on to the last matchup in the East, and the last matchup, last first round matchup. Barn burner, let me tell you. Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils. And the truth of the matter is that it would be a little bit more exciting if Jack Hughes was playing, but he is not. Dougie Hamilton is back, though. So good news for them. Good news for the New Jersey Devils. Good news for Sheldon Keefe. But I don't know, Liam. There's a way that the Carolina Hurricanes play hockey, and maybe I have to give credit to Rod Brindamore, but it's suffocating. It is suffocating. And even last night, we both watched the game against the Habs, and they didn't even have most of their guys in the lineup, right? They didn't have no Aho, no Jarvis, no Jackson Blake, no Slavin. But it was still the system that was being played that it was like they limit shots, they limit quality shots, and their neutral zone is just a mess. It's just the way that they defend is very, very impressive. So even though this matchup is not full of talent and excitement, I think that strategy and the way they play hockey for the Canes ends up reigning supreme.
Yeah, this is a boring matchup. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not tuning in, by the way. But there's zero chance.
Oh, this is going to be the 3 p.m. game on the Saturday. Like, this is the Islanders in the playoffs again. Like, I'm sorry I doubt there's any Islanders fans. If you're an Islanders fan, you need to check yourself. Go to a different sport or something, because that is not even hockey. They don't even play hockey. But this is literally the Islanders series. Like, this is the 3 p.m. game that you're like, oh, I can't wait for the 5 p.m. game between the Panthers and the Lightning. So, yeah, I probably won't be tuning in, but it'll definitely be like the first game on the Sunday. So it's playoff hockey. You got to tune in. But regardless, you're right in the fact that Carolina plays this system that is just boring to watch. And you know what? The Devils are not, the most exciting team, but they do provide some spark and some swag. But losing Jack Hughes sucks. Like, he would be the best player in the series, and it just, it ruins it for the fans. And, you look at the Devils' last stretch of the season since Jack Hughes has been out, they've been bad. They've been really, really bad. Markstrom's a good goalie. They have their players like Dougie, Luke Hughes, and Nico Hischier, obviously an outstanding player, along with Jesper Bratt. But it's just, I don't think they're going to be able to compete with how the Hurricanes play. And considering the fact that the Hurricanes have been a good team recently, I just don't see a world where New Jersey is able to beat them. So give me Carolina.
We've completed our first round matchups, but we have to do the games again. So Toronto over the Sens in...
Honestly,
how many games?
I think this goes to 7.
Goes to 7?
Yeah. I like the Senators taking a few. I really do. I think Ullmark can win multiple games for them, and Brady Tkachuk will be a difference maker.
I feel like 6 is fair.
I can agree with it. I
I just feel like
7. Like, I feel like it's not out of the picture because the Leafs have just been historically bad in the playoffs.
Right. You know what? We'll go 7. We'll
on a year where Matthews also only has 30 goals, by the way. So
right. Okay, then we'll go on to Tampa, Florida. This is another game that honestly gives off game 7.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, you want to think that it's back and forth all the way. And then you got Montreal over the Caps. Is that
sweep? 4.
I think I think if there's anyone watching that sees us put anything but 7 in this case is gonna freak out.
Habs in 9.
But I don't know. I mean, is that a third
It's a
game? Is
7.
that a third game 7?
These are the matchups. These are the best matchups we've had in a long time. I love triple games.
I love the story behind the Montreal Caps one too. Like, Ovi breaks the record. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's not much correlation between the Caps and the Habs, but it's just, I don't know. It just feels like 2 very interesting seasons.
The Capitals won their cup already. It was Ovi passing Gretzky. It's over. Like, you're not playing for anything anymore. It's done. You've won your Stanley Cup. Celebrate with your Cheetos and your Coke on the plane. And they're done. They're done. I don't see them winning the series.
And then Carolina to beat New Jersey in what, 15? Because I'm not watching this and I don't care. But
I think there's going to be disqualification, both teams, for being too boring.
And honestly, I don't know if this is a stupid take, Leah, but like I think there's also something to be said about the fact that their jerseys are so similar in color that I'm like bored at the jersey matchup. Like it's like, like at least you look at, I don't know. Maybe I'm overtired, but I think that if you like, it's just, I almost think that they look like the same jerseys. So I'm looking at the same thing. It's just too, like, I don't know. Give us a jersey match.
And also, this is so random too, but the camera angle of certain arenas pisses me off. And
but which one bothers you?
The Devils. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's like right above the penalty box.
Trying to
it's
imagine
so
it right
weird.
now.
Like, and you see like way too much of the crowd on the far side. I think the Canadiens have the perfect camera, by the way. I don't know if I'm used to it, but the Devils camera is terrible. And also Carolina's is pretty terrible too. And the Islanders.
Both their arenas are also just like very bland. Like I feel like like there's no there's nothing that's gonna stack up to the Canadiens, but like we can both agree that like Washington fans are pretty lively, like you get that aspect. I mean, I don't know.
Honestly, it's sad that Carolina has good fans and such a boring team because they actually have a good crowd. And
they have a good fan base, but I don't know if they're like, you find that their crowd is like lively. Like, I don't know.
I think they actually have a good crowd and they have like,
they do a
stuff.
storm surge. So.
Exactly. They do the storm surge. They do cool things that other teams don't. It's just like their team is so boring. Like, what am I watching?
Yeah, very boring. So, but in this case, I honestly could see a world where this ends in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'd say
not 7.
6. I'd say 6.
We'll play conservative and go 6. So in the East, we don't have a single matchup that goes less than 6, which is very interesting. We'll go back to the top here and we'll kind of rattle through them. We won't give our explanation for each series because, I mean, again, we can't, like, these are not set in stone matchups. But Winnipeg, Colorado, I'm taking Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going Colorado.
And we are. Yeah.
We're
going Colorado.
He's not that guy. He's not that guy in big time games.
I don't think he's that guy. And I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt to be that guy against St. Louis. But I don't think if you take, first of all, a team in Colorado that just went out and made so many unbelievable moves at the deadline.
Yeah, like, and getting Landeskog back is huge. Like bringing in Nelson, Coyle, Landeskog coming back. Their decor is strong. Makar is so good. McKinnon just, you know how McKinnon plays. He's that playoff player. So
I think their team is just genuinely built for the playoffs. And I mean, and then you look to, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you look at their goalie upgrade in Blackwood, and that is significant. And he's had a great season because of it. So we'll move on to the other matchup. Very interesting one. I think that if this were the matchup, it would be great. And the truth is that even if it were the Kings, I think it would be a really, really good matchup. But Oilers, Vegas, this is where I draw the line with Edmonton, in my opinion. And I don't want to count them out. I think it's just the injury thing that's kind of bugging me or leaving a sour taste in my mouth. So,
well, you know what? Edmonton is not as deep as they were last year, and they're not getting the same production from their players as they were last year. Henrique has been a ghost. And look, I understand that they've dealt with injuries, and the guys in their third and fourth line have stepped up into a larger role and have produced, whether that's Arvidsson or Connor Brown. But these guys just haven't been good. Like Jeff Skinner, not great at all, not a good season. And they're getting Evander Kane back, but you miss a whole year, you're coming back, and I don't know if he's going to be that same player that he once was. So Vegas got the best of them in 2023, I want to say. I think it was in 6 games, which came as a bit of a surprise because Edmonton was the favorite. But I think we've both agreed that Vegas takes it. Their roster depth, their experience, I mean, not to say that Edmonton doesn't have experience, but Vegas takes the Oilers in this series.
And I was going to say, too, I mean, like, we didn't really note it, but I think it's important to note. I mean, you go down their list of point scorers, which doesn't tell the full story most of the time, but Draisaitl 106 and 71, 167 for McDavid. Then you have 67 and 82 for Bouchard. And then you get 49 and 78 for Nugent Hopkins and 44 and 73 for Hyman. Like, okay, Hyman had 27 goals, and last year he had 50 plus. And I'm not saying Hyman's a bad player. I like him. I even said that I would be willing to put him on Team Canada for the Olympics. However, this season, the production is very again, it's 2-man team, like you just said, and I don't know how long that can keep up in a league and in a sport that is a team sport and needs the depth scoring, right? I mean, you add a few of those Habs players that have 10 plus goals on this team, and they'd be a lot stronger. But that could be said about most teams. But anyway, you get the point. Move on to Leafs Tampa. This is a matchup that we've seen in the first round before, but Toronto's history of not being so strong when it comes to making it as far as they might like. Conference finals would be huge for their franchise, but Tampa's running too hot, I think. Yeah. I mean, the Leafs are too, but I like Tampa's experience. I think they know what it takes. I think they do.
If we're stacking up rosters and comparing the two, I'm taking Kucherov, I'm taking Brayden Point, I'm taking Victor Hedman over the Leafs' top guys.
And Jake Gensel. I mean, I feel like he's a playoff guy. Look, you go out and you don't get rid of Stamkos. I don't want to say get rid of because of like the whole situation, but to have Gensel come in, who's proven to be an electric hockey player, despite the constant criticism of people saying, oh, he can't play without Crosby, he can't be relevant without Crosby. And then he even did it in Pittsburgh when Crosby was injured. And then now he goes to a team that's notorious for being a powerhouse in the playoffs. And he plays with Nikita Kucherov. I mean, I think that you're just putting a player that just knows how to succeed on his own with a team that knows how to win in the playoffs. And I feel like there's no better recipe for success. So give us Tampa
Bassey's
over.
Hot.
Yeah,
that's hot too. So yeah.
And they don't, and Toronto, and sorry to cut you off, but Toronto obviously is getting the goaltending right now, statistically speaking. But when those two things are equal, when both goalies are kind of equal in terms of the way that they're playing, give me the goalie that just has been doing it for a more consistent period of time. And that's Vazzy, right? He knows he's been doing it. He's won 2 cups. Like he knows what it takes to win.
Has Stolarz ever played a playoff game?
No, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a backup for Florida last year. And they won the cup, so he has a cup, but
this is a guy
have
who's,
a cup?
Yeah, he played 1 game last year, and it was probably because he came in for Bobrovsky.
Yeah, because I remember they pulled Bob in 1 game.
But it's a 31-year-old.
It was against Edmonton.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a 31-year-old goalie who's never played a playoff game in his life, facing off against a Conn Smythe winner, and I mean, arguably the best goalie in the NHL. So it's not exactly the fairest matchup when you're just comparing regular season stats. So give me Tampa.
Now we move on to the juicy one. We move on to Montreal versus Carolina. We've said it on many occasions that the Habs probably that side of the bracket has the easiest path to success or to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, whatever you want to say. But the Habs taking on Carolina. And once again, I think we go Montreal over Carolina here. I mean, look, to me, okay, we discussed this before we started the show. I think the way that Carolina plays hockey is annoying. I think that I said it before, it's suffocating. But can the Habs do it? Yeah, if they get through round 1, they can kind of beat anyone. And I don't see a world where if they beat the Caps, that they don't beat Carolina also. Don't want to eat our words here, but
one of the biggest factors in this series is going to be goaltending. And I think we said that about the Washington series as well. But if I'm looking at Freddie Anderson and Pyotr Kochetkov, both of them are just not good. Like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. They have their moments, but Anderson is super unreliable and has shown that year after year after year. Kochetkov's still young. He played 2 games in the playoffs last year, I think. So, again, a guy who's coming into a playoff series without having much playoff experience and again, haven't been very good this season either. I think, like you said, the Hurricanes are a very tough team to play against because they don't give up many opportunities. I just do think the Canadiens are going to be riding high on some momentum that beating the Capitals when they were the 8th seed, they're going to take it into the next series. So again, call us as delusional as you want, but there's upsets every single year. I don't see how this isn't a realistic scenario where the Canadiens get it done. So give me the Canadiens in this series. I think you take them as well.
Pyotr Kochetkov, through 47 games started this season, has a 898 save percentage. And Freddie Anderson, through 21 games, has a 907 game percentage. The constant between these two goalies is that they both have winning records. So what does that speak to? That speaks to the quality of their ability to score goals. So obviously a good thing for a team. You want to be able to score goals. But again, this is a 7-game series. This is a playoff series. It is very short-lived, and it's about exposing the weaknesses of the other team at an opportune time. And right now, that weakness for the Carolina Hurricanes is goaltending. So if the Canadiens can find a way to take care of that in the second round, I can see a world where it happens. I'm not denying that the Carolina Hurricanes are a good team. They have a great D-core, a very deep D-core. But again, like you mentioned, the goaltending is definitely a factor that we have to take into consideration when picking this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you look at their trade deadline. They lose Rantanen. You traded Natchez during the season. Those are two huge offensive pieces. And you bring in a guy like Stankoven. Yes, very good player, but a rookie, very young still, doesn't have any playoff experience. Or he did last year versus Dallas. I mean, as a Dallas forward, but you're coming into the season and it's a different story. He's not being used in a first-line role. It's going to come down to Aho, Jarvis, and right now it seems like Jackson Blake, another rookie, taking a huge step. So they don't have the same offensive prowess as they might have used to have, and maybe that the stats indicate. So,
well,
yeah.
Can I chime in here? What's funny about that too is, again, it's not us harping on Carolina. It's just more showing, like, demonstrating the trouble that they've had. I mean, you look at their lineup and you look at their top point scorers through the season. 74 points in 79 games for Sebastian Aho leads the team, followed by 67 in 73 for Seth Jarvis, second on the team. Third on the team? Well, that's Marty Natchez with 55 and 49. 49 games played for the Carolina Hurricanes. So if that doesn't, and granted, Svechnikov missed games, Jackson Blake had kind of a late surge for the team, but they do lack scoring. So they lack scoring, and their D is poor, and their goaltending is poor. Where exactly are they going to be able to thrive in a short playoff series? I don't know. To me, beats me.
Plus, they've never had success in the playoffs, so I don't know what.
Don't get me started on that with Rod. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the Western Conference Final. Great matchup. Colorado,
terrific.
Vegas. But once again, I think we can both agree Colorado has what it takes this year. Vegas will probably put up a fight. I don't know how many games this probably goes, but I do think that Colorado takes this.
It's going to be a really good series, and I think this is going to be a 7-game series just because of how these teams match up against each other, the history they have between each other, both recent Stanley Cup champions, maybe the best series in the playoffs if this happens. So I also do like Colorado. I think they have a great story, again, with Landeskog coming back, the moves they made at the deadline, and I think they're gonna roll. So give me McKinnon-Makar over the Vegas Golden Knights.
And then we move on to the 2021 Stanley Cup Final. But here we see it as an Eastern Conference Final matchup. The Tampa Bay Lightning host the Montreal Canadiens. Great matchup, kind of fun. Definitely, some flashes of 2021 there and some consistent players. But this is where I think this is where the line gets drawn for the Canadiens' Cinderella story run and Cinderella story season. And I think that if this were to be a matchup, Tampa would beat Montreal.
Look, obviously we're looking at teams on paper. Tampa has a better team. But if we're going to talk about what Tampa has to go through in order to get in this position, I think the Canadiens would be less tired. Tampa is arguably playing a Eastern Conference Final matchup in the first round and an Eastern Conference Final matchup in the second round. And arguably, you can say these games go to 7. I personally would believe that both those series goes to 7. While Montreal maybe doesn't match up the best against Carolina, is not playing as difficult as a team as Tampa or Florida Panthers or the Leafs. So the only way I think the Canadiens can get this done is if Tampa is just absolutely decimated.
Yeah, they have to be decimated
and tired. And obviously, it's not something we can predict, but I think it is a very possible situation considering the teams they have to get through. Again.
Yeah, I could see that too. I just also think that like we have to talk about the fact that Tampa has an abundance of playoff experience. Like they know, yes, it's a tougher road there, but that's nothing short of what they've had to deal with before. So I think if you look on paper again, I mean they have so much scoring depth. It's ridiculous. I mean, Cirelli 59 points in 79 games as your 3C, 2C, like whatever it is, but he's PK1. I mean, he plays crunch time minutes. He averages 18 minutes a game. Like they've made the necessary moves. They bring back familiar faces or a familiar face in Yanni Gourde because they know what he brings to the table. I mean, it's a recipe for success. The truth is that I'm not going to say that I counted them out, but I didn't see them as big of a force as some of the other teams in the East. But yet here we are giving them their ticket to the dance. So,
yeah. And this is going to be a rematch of the 2022 finals where the Colorado Avalanche got it done against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And look, we've talked about both these teams in depth. Both of them extremely deep. Two of the best teams in the NHL, no doubt. And I think I'm going to give it to the Colorado Avalanche once again to win the Stanley Cup.
This will be the Habs Culture official bracket. Definitely an interesting exercise. I think that was obviously a lot of fun. And we'll see if any of it comes true. I mean, if the Habs get to that position, let's just say it's going to be fun times as Habs fans. But nonetheless, it's still going to be fun times as Habs fans because we get to see more games than we had originally anticipated. Anyway, that was a fun episode. Definitely excited for the playoffs. We'll be back with more content. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the first game for the Habs, like I mentioned at the top of the show, Monday, April 21st, 7 p.m. So we are currently Thursday, April 17th. So we're 4 days away, give or take. I don't know if we'll be back before that game, but there'll definitely be some content out on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. So make sure that you're watching us or checking us out on those socials. And but if you don't, you'll just come back for next episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in as per usual if you made it this far, and we'll catch you guys next time.
And
go Habs go.
Let's go.
Go Habs go.